So, Tejal, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But
Good afternoon, Dr. Nick. Thank you for the opportunity to engage with you.
It's great to have you on the show, Tejal. And before we move into the future, can you please tell us a little bit about your background? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, popularly known as the home of the bunny chow. But yeah, that's where I grew up and relocated to Gauteng after I completed my tertiary education.
And tell us, Tejal, what was your dream career when you grew up?
You know, Dr. Nick, I was always very opinionated. I always wanted to be the boss. I really had no idea of what, but I wanted to have the role that my mom had. She was the headmistress of a very well-managed and well-respected educational institution in Durban. I watched her do a lot of things, support people, grow people, be it the teachers working under her, be it teaching kids how to swim, be it teaching moms how to drive and finding their confidence behind the wheel. And I would think, wow, this lady is amazing. My mom walked into the room and she had a presence, and I wanted that. Later in my life, I wanted to become a corporate lawyer. LA law was hugely influential in that, as were the many lawyers in my family. I did pursue commercial law as part of my tertiary education. So I guess I do get to consistently apply the principles of commercial law in my daily career. And maybe I have achieved my dream career.
Now, Tejal, tell us who else inspired you in your early days?
You know, Dr. Nick, it may sound cliched, but this was my reality. I was deeply inspired by my mom and the many strong women in my family who, in their own ways, were and still are trailblazers in whatever their chosen professions were. I wanted to be the most like my mom, though. A woman who wore many, many hats, both within the community, within the professional sphere. She juggled a lot, but yet she still made you feel like you were the center of her world. I was inspired and encouraged by my mom to be me. To be inspired by someone is fantastic, but to be encouraged by someone to embrace who you are, to embrace your uniqueness and your voice and your power, and to be your authentic self, I think that's just magical. It gives you so much more drive to do good. And I was truly, truly inspired by my mom.
Now, Tejal, you've been working for some of the global tech giants, from SAP to IBM and now EY. Looking back over your career, would you say there was a turning point, or maybe a number of turning points?
I think our careers are dynamic. The choices we make do impact where we land up. I've had some significant turning points in my career. Being a female of color in an industry dominated by males of a specific demographic, I was fortunate enough through hard work to be appointed to the Infrastructure Exco at Datacentrics, a large system integrator within the South African economy. And it was truly a wow moment for me. It was a moment where I realized that my decisions now had a bigger impact and reach. I had the power to empower others. I had the power to create space for more people like me, to not just create space, but to encourage people to accept the space. A lot of people said to me that I was very lucky, but I know that I, as a human being, made many sacrifices. I seized every single opportunity that was given to me to gain experience and to grow. So while luck may have played a role, I worked very, very hard. Being appointed to that role made me take myself very much more seriously. It made me realize that not everyone in the industry has your best interests at heart. Not everyone who smiles at you is going to be your friend. And as we climb those corporate ladders, it will get lonely. The opportunity made me sit back and it made me define who I would be and how I was going to show up as a leader in that environment. It made me realize that I had a huge responsibility, not just to myself, but to others as well.
So, Tejal, what would you say is driving you today?
Oh, there's lots. The rearview mirror, although it's small, it has a very big impact on our tomorrows. I think for me, the desire to do better, to be better, to create space and opportunities for others who've not had access to the people and opportunities that I've been afforded, definitely drives me to create opportunities for sustainable economic inclusion for women, both across my corporate career as well as in the disenfranchised communities that I work with. Um, I have an inherent belief that everyone is an agent of change. It's realizing that and the responsibility that comes with that that drives me to consistently evolve who I am, both in my thoughts, my words, and in my actions.
And Tejal, looking into the future, and I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
It is a big question. Leadership for me signifies a transformation, a continuous change in how we manage and structure our organizations. I think in response to the pace, the relentless pace of global change, the past 4 years have served as a catalyst, with the pandemic challenging our inherent leadership principles and styles. It's compelling us as people and organizations to evolve, and we've got to respond to that. As a leader within a multinational corporation, I experienced a defining moment. It was a shift from having people around us and managing tasks and managing outputs to a solely output driven period and space. It's an imperative to prioritize people. It's required for us to be agile, empathetic, and it's about making us conscious on how we show up for those who rely on us. I think the pandemic has indelibly sculpted the foundation of leadership. It's laid the groundwork for what lies ahead for us. We have to embrace people first. We've got to heighten our focus on diversity, mental well-being. What does work-life balance mean? How do we use technology, which we were forced to embrace at a faster pace during the pandemic, to bolster both profit and culture and find that balance and maintain that balance? I think my role as a leader is to nurture and empower individuals, and it's a responsibility of leaders. We've got to foster a pipeline for future visionaries. It's about championing inclusivity, allowing everyone the opportunity to contribute meaningfully to an organization. Leadership is about navigating our digital world and the interconnectedness with human centricity at the core. It's about being forward thinking. It's about preempting disruption, preparing strategically. It's about instilling confidence, inspiring authenticity, and empowering people to transcend out of their roles. It's about championing accountability. And I think practically leadership for me is leveraging tools and technology for effective decision making, while also considering the ethical ramifications. As a leader, I think we are all being called on to balance financial success with sustainability and our commitment to social responsibility. I think, in summary, for me, Dr. Nick, the essence of future leadership lies in a human centric approach while being very technologically savvy and having a global awareness, while harnessing the values beyond financial gain, but also leveraging people. I'm still evolving as a leader. And I think my thoughts on what the future of leadership will look like will evolve as I progress on my journey. But to summarize, it is enhancing my decision making capabilities, leveraging technology, leveraging people for sustainable financial growth and impact.
Now, Tejal, as the world is stumbling from one crisis into the next, what is your advice for future leaders in terms of challenges? What are some of the biggest challenges future leaders should expect to encounter and hopefully overcome in their career?
You know, we face challenges every single day. And when I look at my journey specifically, it was a hard journey. I had to think about, the challenges which truly tested my resilient nature. But they've molded me into someone who can recognize talent and recognize that we have the ability to nurture that. I think I would not be here personally had I not stood firm through the many storms. I think self awareness stands as the cornerstone of my personal journey. The ability to forge genuine connections, humility, the eagerness to absorb knowledge. Those are things that help make leadership tangible. I think the counsel of esteemed mentors has definitely been invaluable. They offered me a diverse perspective on my situations that have enriched my understanding of leadership. I think the courage to acknowledge one's mistakes and embrace accountability is crucial, but it is especially critical for leaders. Viewing failure as an instructive moment rather than a defeat is something I hold dear. You'll find a common theme of fostering authenticity. That's something that I believe is vital. We have to invite others to reveal their true selves. It's a practice I personally prioritize. It's only then that we're going to extract the true value of uniqueness from our people. I think the attributes that I consider most vital include adaptability, possessing an unobstructed vision, coupled with the strategy to realize it. Curiosity definitely fuels continuous learning and is definitely important. Effective communication, resilience, and unwavering ethical integrity are the pillars which I personally build my leadership foundation on. I believe the power of conviction and standing resolute in your beliefs are important in leaders. Inclusivity, again, paramount. I don't think anything is more detrimental in an organization where people feel alienated. We are inherently social creatures. So I think it's important for us to embrace all of these characters. Lastly, I think the ability to be a strategic thinker is a guiding principle that is required in leaders. And it's something that can be learned, but sometimes it is inherent in our culture.
Now, Tejal, if you were to design a curriculum for future leaders, what are maybe one or two skills you would want to factor in and maybe even teach?
So, Dr. Nick, I think, there's a few things. Winging it like my eyeliner is definitely not one, right? So, important ones, I think, are emotional intelligence. Self awareness is absolutely important. Being able to manage your emotions, and it's something that we can learn through development coaching. Being adaptable and agile is important, with the pace at which the world is changing. We need to be able to pivot. And people who are not able to pivot will find themselves left behind. So I think agility. Technology literacy is definitely very important in the leadership journey. And I think as leaders, we need to understand how do we leverage technology? It's no longer optional. So we've got to understand tools. So maybe some training and development around tools to help drive effective decision making, how to interpret data in the use of effective decision making. And I think strategic thinking. So definitely courses in strategic management, strategic thinking. We've got to be able to think long term. We've got to be able to anticipate what trends are coming down. We've got to anticipate how do we develop these trends to ensure we have a competitive advantage and drive sustainable growth. I think CS&I or CSR is huge because we must remember that as leaders, we need to act with ethics and giving back to our communities and developing those pipelines of people and understanding what we do and its impact on our social environment is important. So sustainability and social responsibility is definitely key. Communication skills. You know, you have to communicate clear and effectively because often a lack of communication results to the collapse of projects and the collapse of businesses. So clear and effective communication skills is definitely something that we need. I think inclusive leadership is definitely important because, again, I've said we are inherently social beings. So inclusive leadership is definitely something that we need to consider. I think as future leaders, we face many challenges and self-doubt, finding my purpose, imposter syndrome. These are all things that through the coaching journey can help us be effective leaders. And these are maybe some of my top picks for the skills that I think we should teach.
Thank you. Now, Tejal, as a mentor to many future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
Yeah. Dr. Nick, through my career, I have been really fortunate to have had a pipeline of exceptional mentors. And I continuously give back, through various programs. And in my professional environment currently, being a leader to a fairly large team, I do offer leadership and coaching to some of my graduates as well as some of my more experienced teams. Outside, within my professional realm, I have had a few people who've sought support. And for me, it's a deeply personal journey. I think for a mentor and mentee to truly benefit from the relationship, there must be trust, there must be a willingness to share, and there must be a willingness to learn. Trust and respect, though, is the cornerstone of the relationship. Like with everything in life, I'm very structured in my approach to mentoring. I use the technique of asking a lot of open-ended questions. I do drive critical thinking. I'm often told that I lack a little bit of empathy sometimes, debatable. I think it's situational. But I encourage my mentees to probe their situations, start their processes with the end goal in mind. And then through a series of techniques, whiteboarding, design thinking, we come up with what that journey should look like. I've recently had a young lady coming from an Islamic background who has been given an opportunity to lead, but she struggles with a few things. Self-doubt. She believes she has a skills gap, and she believes she lacks the tools to truly help her step up and lead. And I think through a process of working with her and designing what leadership looked like to her, because leadership looks different to different people, we've identified her gaps or her perceived gaps. And we've put down a plan of through a structured manner, personal development by addressing her perceived gaps. We've addressed the skills through a learning program. And we've redefined what leadership should look like for where she is and where she aspires to be. And through defining her goals, defining the gaps, defining the areas for growth, we have worked through a 3-month journey. And she is in a position now where she has accepted this opportunity to lead. And she has started engaging her team at the leadership level for where she is right now. We do have a program for continued growth and development. And I think, happy to say that she's committed, and I'm very keen to see where she lands ultimately. But I think that's one of the success stories which really is very heartening for me.
Thank you. Now, Tejal, looking back over your own leadership journey, are there any role models of leadership that you have encountered and maybe worked with whom you would recommend to future leaders?
I think I've said this before, Dr. Nick. Leadership is a very personal journey, and who I may see as a leader may not be the same as somebody else, based on where their frame is right now or our frames of the world. For me, it's study the people who inspire you to do more. Study the people who can see sparks of brilliance and who are willing to nurture that. And we may not always have access to those role models. So it's a very personal choice because people are inherently different. And what may inspire change in me may not inspire change in you. So I have quite a list, and it's varied. And as I've said, I've been fortunate to have had access to a diverse group of mentors. My commercial gurus, who I take a huge amount of inspiration from in the South African context, are people like Waiti Passon, the chairperson of ShopRite Group, Adrian Gore, Discovery Group, the humanitarian Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, founder of Gift of the Givers, Mteto Nyoti, the author of Betting on a Darkie and the chairperson of the embattled Eskom Group. These are people for me who embody fearless leadership. They are innovative in their thinking. They are people who, in my world, are visionaries. They are people who are not afraid of change. And if I look at Mteto, he is what I call an ethical leader. I think other leadership inspirations that we could draw, lessons from are definitely Nelson Mandela, Oprah Winfrey for driving her empowerment of the girl child and the education agenda, Barack Obama for diplomacy, Robin Sharma for, I think, his approach, his practical approach to life and the practices that one can deploy to drive change. And definitely, I think, Indira Nooy for her emphasis on driving sustainability and impactful change. And I'd be amiss if I didn't mention Steve Jobs for his visionary leadership, his adaptability, and his innovative approach to life and work, even through his personal challenges. If I were to take a step back and I were to think of my leadership journey as well, and when I was facing challenges in my journey, I really looked to my mentors. And again, it was taking the things that resonated with me that helped me craft my leadership journey. I think ethical leadership is something that I am very big on. Innovation, creativity, dynamism, and being able to be a forward thinker. Those are some of the key takeaways you need to look for in your mentors or the people whose leadership journeys inspire you.
Now, Tejal, where can our listeners follow you and how should they connect with you?
I often write about my leadership insights and share really relevant content on LinkedIn or on Instagram at Tejal _Somaru. I do have a blog, which will be going live soon. I have a lot of content on there, but have always been very nervous of putting it out there. And Dr. Nick, you've inspired me to share my journey. So thank you. The blog is called Vividly Audacious. And if you just type it in, it will come up on Blogspot. So I'm quite looking forward to publishing.
Great.
And engaging with one of you.
Thank you. Thank you. And last but not least, Tejal, what is your message to the millions of learners out there who are looking to finish school, to start a career? What are maybe one or two success principles they should keep in mind?
As you go through life, you're going to hear a lot. If you find something or print or hear something and it resonates with you, then that is what you need to take away. I think my parting shot would be humility and heart. We can have all the applied knowledge and it would make us very book smart. We can look to our mentors and we can adopt a lot of their styles, their ideas, their thoughts. But if you lack humility and heart, then we will lack the ability to connect with the people that we are meant to lead. So you need a healthy balance of learned knowledge. You need a healthy balance of street smarts, and you need good people in your corner to call you out and guide you as you are on this journey. So collect the good people, to quote my friend Katie Mohammed. Don't be afraid to engage with mentors. Don't be afraid to ask for mentorship. Apply your book knowledge with a healthy dose of street smarts in your leadership journey. And I think as leaders, we are entrusted to lead in a fast-paced and technologically advanced world. So my parting shot would be, lead as you would like to be led. And don't wait for an opportunity to step up to lead. Lead from where you are right now. You have an opportunity. Nobody's going to say to you, oh, I think you should lead. No. If you spot an opportunity to lead, lead from there. And that is the only way you're going to be noticed. You're going to take initiative. And people are going to then say, there's potential. Take every opportunity that you get and make the most of it.
Tejal, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom into the future of leadership and for inspiring us to lead and live audaciously.
Dr. Nick, thank you so much for the opportunity. It is always so lovely to engage with you. And this has been a learning journey for me. So thank you again and appreciate you.